The House of Wisdom, Season 1, Episode 5. The Hijrah, the migration that built a civilization. The legacy recap last episode. We stood at the edge of the abyss. The Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, had just returned from Ta'if, bleeding, rejected, stoned out of the city by its own citizens. The two people who had sustained him through 13 years of persecution, his wife Khadija and his uncle Abu Talib, were both gone, dead within weeks of each other in what history would remember as the Year of Sorrow. And yet, out of that darkness, something extraordinary happened. 6 men from a city called Yathrib heard the Prophet ﷺ speak at Aqaba during the Hajj season. They listened. They believed. They went home and started a fire. 1 year later, 12 men returned and pledged their lives. The year after that, 72 men and 2 women came in the darkness of night, and they made a covenant that would change the trajectory of human civilization. The Prophet told them, "I shall live and die with you." And Muawiyah bin Abu Sufyan's grandfather, Bara' bin Ma'rur, stretched out his hand first. We left the Prophet ﷺ and Abu Bakr at the foot of Mount Thawr. The camels were loaded. The city of Makkah, the city the Prophet loved more than any place on earth, was behind them. The assassins were still in the streets. The Hijrah had begun. In strategic context, it is the 14th year of prophethood, the month of Safar, somewhere between midnight and the first light of dawn. Picture this. Every single notable tribe of the Quraish has sent a young swordsman to a single house. Not one tribe, every tribe. This was Abu Jahl's masterstroke, the plan agreed upon in Dar al-Nadwah. If blood is shared across all clans simultaneously, no single tribe bears the guilt. Banu Hashim cannot seek retaliation against the whole of Quraysh. The Prophet will simply be dead, and the movement will collapse. They have surrounded the house. They are waiting. Inside, wrapped in the Prophet's own green Hadrami cloak, lies Ali ibn Abi Talib, the Prophet's cousin, his son-in-law, a young man who has known this man since birth. He has been told what to expect when daylight comes. He understands what sleeping in that bed might cost him, and he lies down anyway. The Prophet, peace be upon him, steps out. He does not run. He does not hide. He walks directly toward the circle of armed men and recites the opening of Surah Yasin, Yasin, by the Quran full of wisdom. Verily, you are among the messengers. And then the verse, and we have put before them a barrier and behind them a barrier, and we have covered them so they do not see. He takes a handful of dust. He scatters it over their heads as he passes through them. Not one of them sees him. They will not discover the deception until dawn, when the man in the green cloak rises for Fajr prayer, and they realize Ali. It was Ali the whole time. By then, the Prophet of Allah and Abu Bakr As-Siddiq are already 4 miles south of Makkah, climbing toward a cave in the mountain called Thawr, and the most consequential 8 days in early Islamic history are about to begin. Now, before we follow that journey step by step, let us understand what makes the Hijrah so much more than a migration. Because it would be a fundamental mistake to treat this as simply an escape story. The Hijrah is the foundational act of Islamic civilization. It is the moment the Muslim community transforms from a persecuted religious movement into a sovereign political entity. Every Islamic calendar in the world, every date written as one begins here. Not with the first revelation, not with the conquest of Makkah. Here, at this moment, because the Muslim scholars who established the calendar 15 years after the event understood something profound. Islam as a civilization was born not when the message was received, but when the community was established. The Prophet ﷺ is not fleeing Makkah. He is founding something. Keep that in mind as we walk every step of this journey. The Cave of Thawr, 3 nights that shook an empire. Mount Thawr rises south of Makkah, the opposite direction from Medina. This is the first masterstroke of the journey. The Quraysh know the Prophet ﷺ must travel north to reach Yathrib. Every search party they send will head north. By moving south first, the Prophet buys time. The cave itself sits near the summit. It is small, by some accounts barely large enough for 2 men to lie down. Before the Prophet ﷺ enters, Abu Bakr insists on going in first to clear it. He searches it by hand in the darkness, stuffing the holes in the rock with torn pieces of his own garment, so that no creature hiding in the dark could harm the man he loves more than his own life. By one account, he missed one hole. He covered it with his foot, and something bit him. But he did not move. He would not wake the Prophet who had fallen asleep in his lap. This is Abu Bakr As-Siddiq. This is who this man was. They remain in that cave for 3 days and 3 nights. And during those 3 days, the entire apparatus of Quraysh power is turned against finding them. A reward of 100 camels is announced. 100 camels for anyone who can bring back Muhammad, dead or alive. 100 camels was a fortune. It was generational wealth. It set every bounty hunter, every tribal tracker, every greedy man in Arabia moving. The search parties come within meters of the cave entrance. The sources are explicit about this. The Quraish trackers follow the footprints directly to the mouth of Thawr. They are standing at the entrance. And here is where Abu Bakr, not yet fully trusting in what is about to happen, whispers to the Prophet, "O Messenger of Allah, if one of them looks at his feet, he will see us." And the Prophet, calm, utterly certain, in a cave on a mountain with the most powerful tribe in Arabia standing at its entrance and 100-camel bounty on his head, turns to his companion and says, "O Abu Bakr, what do you think of two when Allah is their third? Grieve not. Surely Allah is with us." The Quraysh look at the mouth of the cave. They see an unbroken spider's web stretched across the entrance. They see a pigeon sitting calmly on her nest at the threshold, her eggs undisturbed. No one has entered this cave recently. They leave. And right here, I want to pause and ask you something, and I genuinely want to hear your answer in the comments. Abu Bakr was arguably the most steadfast man of the early Muslim community. He had never wavered. He had spent his entire fortune, freed slaves, stood in front of mobs, and yet in this moment, he was afraid. Not for himself. Afraid for the Prophet. What does that tell us about the difference between faith and fear? Can they coexist? Drop your thoughts below, because this tension, this very human moment, is something the sources preserve for us with extraordinary honesty. Meanwhile, the logistical operation supporting those 3 days in the cave is running like clockwork. Abdullah, Abu Bakr's son, moves through Mecca by day, gathering intelligence on Quraysh movements and plans. Every night, he makes his way to the cave and reports everything he has heard. Abu Bakr's daughter Asma prepares food and carries it to the cave in the darkness, and when she had no rope to tie the provisions bag to the saddle, she tore her own waistband in two, using half to secure the bag. For this, the Prophet named her Dhat al-Nitaqain, the Lady of the Two Belts, a name that has come down through 14 centuries. Abu Bakr's shepherd, Amir bin Fuhairah, grazes his flock by day and brings the animals to the cave mouth at night, providing milk and erasing the footprints left by Abdullah in the sand. Every detail has been planned. Every role has been assigned. This is not improvisation. This is the operational precision of a leader who has been preparing for this moment, quietly, for years. The journey north. 8 days across the desert. On the third night, or by some accounts at the beginning of the fourth day, the guide arrives. His name is Abdullah bin Uraiqit. And here is a detail worth pausing on. Abdullah bin Uraiqit was not a Muslim. He was a polytheist. But he was trusted. He was the most skilled desert navigator available. He knew the back routes away from the main Makkah to Medina road, and he had been entrusted with the 2 she-camels Abu Bakr had been quietly preparing for months. This is the Prophet's practice throughout his life, judging people by their character and their competence, not by tribal affiliation or religious identity in operational matters. He paid for the camel he rode. He insisted on paying. When Abu Bakr offered it as a gift, the Prophet ﷺ said, "I will not ride an animal that is not mine." Even in flight, even with assassins behind him, even with a 100-camel reward on his head, the accounting was precise. The transaction was clean. The caravan of 4 moves north by coastal routes, deliberately avoiding every known path. The sources describe a route through Dusalam, Al-Ababid, Laqaf, Mudlija, Majaj, Qudayd through the valley of Amaj, then to Al-Ayr Rajay, crossing Thaniyat Al-Ayr before descending toward Quba. It is 8 days on camelback through the Hijazi desert. The sun is ferocious. The terrain alternates between volcanic rock and soft sand that swallows your mount's legs. There is no shade. The routes they take are obscure precisely because they are brutal. And on this journey, somewhere on a desert track between Makkah and Medina, history produces one of its most extraordinary scenes. Suraqah, the hunter who became the hunted, his name is Suraqah bin Malik bin Jurshum. He is a warrior of the Mudlij clan. He is sitting in his tent among his people when a man arrives with news. He has seen 3 riders on camels moving north along a coastal track. The description matches. This could be them. Suraqah does not tell his companions what he suspects. He calmly says, "Oh, I know those riders. They're such and such people who left for a journey." He sits a while longer. Then he quietly retrieves his horse and weapons and rides out, alone. He wants the 100 camels for himself. He picks up the trail and rides hard. He closes the distance. The Prophet's small caravan comes into view, and then his horse stumbles and throws him. He remounts. He rides again. The caravan is within reach. His horse stumbles again. He is thrown a second time. He rides a third time. The hooves sink into the sand, as if the ground itself has turned to liquid. He cannot advance. Suraqah bin Malik, hardened desert tracker, experienced warrior, man who has hunted men across the Hijaz, feels something he has rarely felt. He feels afraid, not of the riders, of something he cannot name, of something that is clearly protecting those riders. He calls out to them. He asks for safe passage to approach. The Prophet stops and turns. And when Suraqah draws near and asks for forgiveness, and pledges that he will send back any other pursuers he meets on the road, the Prophet grants it, and does something remarkable. He tells Suraqah, "How will you feel, Suraqah, on the day you wear the bracelets of Chosroes?" Suraqah stares at him. Chosroes, the Emperor of Persia, the most powerful man in the Eastern world, his bracelets, on the wrists of a Bedouin tracker from Mudlij. It sounds like madness. It sounds like the boast of a fugitive trying to impress a man who has caught him in the desert. Suraqah rides back. He turns away every pursuer he meets. He keeps the warrant of safe conduct, a piece of leather scratched with words on the back of a camel. He keeps it for years. And 22 years later, in 638 CE, when the armies of Islam have broken the Persian Empire and the treasury of Ctesiphon is opened, Umar ibn al-Khattab, the second caliph, places the golden bracelets of Chosroes on the wrists of Suraqah bin Malik, now an old man, now a Muslim. And he weeps, and everyone around him weeps, because the man in the desert had not been boasting. He had been reading the future. This moment, the bracelets of Chosroes, is one of the great prophetic traditions of the Seerah, and it happens here, on an unnamed desert track, to a man who rode out alone to collect a bounty. Tell me in the comments, when you consider what that promise must have sounded like in that moment, in the context of 622 CE, when the Prophet had no army, no city, no state. What do you think Suraqah felt when he rode away? Belief? Confusion? Something else? I genuinely want to know. Arrival at Quba, the first milestone. It is Monday, the 8th day of Rabi al-Awwal, the 14th year of prophethood. In our calendar, September 23rd, 622 CE, noon. The caravan arrives at Quba. Quba is not yet Medina. It is a settlement a few miles south, inhabited largely by the Banu Amr bin Auf, a clan that has already received Islam through Mus'ab bin Umair's mission. They have been waiting. Every morning for days, the Muslims of Quba have walked out to the edge of the settlement and stared south toward Makkah, waiting for the Prophet ﷺ. And every afternoon when he has not come, they have walked back inside. On this morning, a Jew who is sitting upstairs in his house catches sight of the approaching caravan. He does not know these riders, but something in the way the people run toward them, the cries, the joy, makes him understand. He climbs to his roof and calls out at the top of his voice, "O people of Arabia, O those who rest at noon, here is the one you have been waiting for. He has come." And the people of Quba pour out of their doors. The Prophet ﷺ enters Quba on Monday and stays until Friday. He stays in the house of Kulthum bin Haram. He holds his gatherings in the house of Sa'ad bin Khaythma. And during those 4 days, he lays the foundation of a mosque. This is the first mosque ever built, after the advent of Islam. Not the Prophet's mosque in Medina. This one, in Quba. The sources are unanimous. The Prophet ﷺ places the first stone with his own hands. He carries bricks. He mixes clay. He works alongside the people as a laborer. When Ali arrives, having completed the task of returning all the trusts the Meccans had left with the Prophet, then walking the entire journey from Makkah to Quba on foot over several days, he finds the Prophet ﷺ not in a chair of authority, but with his sleeves rolled up, laying stones. The Quran later says of this mosque, "A mosque founded on piety from the first day is more worthy that you should stand in it." 9-108. Masjid Quba stands to this day. Every Saturday, the Prophet ﷺ used to walk from Medina to Quba to offer 2 rak'at of prayer there. He said the reward of this was equal to performing Umrah. It all started here, in these 4 days, with a handful of stones placed by the Prophet's own hands. The entry into Medina, a city transformed. Friday, the 12th of Rabi al-Awwal. The Prophet ﷺ mounts al-Qaswa, his she-camel, and leaves Quba for Medina. He passes through the locality of Banu Salim bin Auf. The time for the Friday prayer arrives. He stops. He dismounts. He leads the prayer in an open field. About 100 men stand behind him. This is the first Friday prayer, the first Jumu'ah ever performed, the first khutbah ever delivered. In a field, no mosque, no minbar, just the earth and the sky, and 100 men who have been waiting for this moment for years. He mounts again and rides toward the city. Every clan, every family, every household wants him to stop at their door. Hands reach for the camel's halter. Voices call out from rooftops and doorways, "Honor us, O Messenger of Allah. Stay with us. We have horses and weapons and men." The Prophet's answer is the same every time. "Let her go. She is guided by Allah. I will stop where she stops." Al-Qaswa moves through Banu Biyada. She does not stop. Through Banu Sa'ida, the chieftains reach for her halter. She does not stop. Through Banu al-Harith, through Banu Adi bin al-Najjar, she does not stop. She enters the locality of Banu Malik bin al-Najjar. She slows. She kneels down in a deserted, unpaved plot of land. a piece of ground used for drying dates, scattered with the old graves of polytheists, a resting spot for cattle. She shakes herself. She rises. She walks forward a few paces. She turns. She comes back to the exact same spot and lowers herself, neck to the ground, and is still. This is where the Prophet of Allah will build his mosque. He looks around at the surrounding houses and asks, "Which of these houses is closest to us?" Abu Ayyub Khalid bin Zayd Ansari rushes forward and takes the Prophet's belongings into his home before anyone else can move. And the Prophet of Allah, the man for whom the entire city has been competing, whose arrival has been anticipated for months, who could have chosen any house in Medina, stays as a guest in the home of Abu Ayyub Ansari. He stays there for 6 months. The plot of land belongs to 2 orphan boys, Sahel and Suhail, wards of Mu'adh bin Afra. The Prophet asks to buy it. They offer it as a gift. He insists on paying. The price is agreed. Abu Bakr pays immediately from his own pocket, and construction of the Prophet's mosque begins. Here is something worth sitting with. The Prophet could have picked the grandest house in Medina. He could have chosen the home of a chieftain, of a man of wealth and influence. He stayed in a simple man's house because a camel knelt in the street nearby. And then he bought a piece of wasteland, date-drying ground with old graves in it. And he built a mosque with his own hands, carrying bricks alongside his companions, working as one of them. No throne, no palace, no ceremony of state. The most powerful man in Arabia, and soon, the most consequential figure in world history, built his headquarters with his own hands, on land he paid for, in a home he entered as a guest. If that does not tell you everything about what made this movement different from every empire that came before it, nothing will. Building the state, the 3 acts of foundation. Once the Prophet ﷺ has established his physical base in Medina, he moves with extraordinary speed to build the institutional framework of the new community. 3 acts follow in rapid succession. Each one is a masterpiece of political architecture. Act 1. The Brotherhood, al-Mu'aqat. The Muhajirin, the migrants from Makkah, have arrived with nothing. They left their homes, their property, their businesses, their family networks. Many arrived with only the clothes on their backs. The risk was real. A community of refugees dependent on Ansari charity could become a social and economic burden that would strain relations within months. The Prophet's solution is elegant and radical. He convenes a gathering of the Muhajirin and the Ansar and announces a formal brotherhood between them, pairing each migrant with a host. But this is not simply hospitality. These bonds carry legal weight. In the early period, they even carried inheritance rights. The examples the sources give are extraordinary. Sa'ad bin Rabi' of the Ansar said to his Muhajir brother Abdurrahman bin Auf, "I am the wealthiest man among the Ansar. Take half my property. I have 2 wives. I will divorce one, and when her waiting period is over, you may marry her." Abdurrahman bin Auf replied, "May Allah bless you and your family and your property. Just show me where the market is." Within a short time, Abdurrahman bin Auf was one of the wealthiest traders in Medina. He needed nothing. But the gesture, the offer of half a life, the offer of a family, had been made and accepted in spirit. This is what the sources mean when they say the Ansar opened their homes to their brothers. The Prophet himself paired with Ali ibn Abi Talib. In the Brotherhood of Medina, these 2 men, prophet and cousin, father-in-law and son-in-law, are each other's pair. Act 2. The Constitution of Madinah, the world's first political charter. Shortly after his arrival, the Prophet ﷺ draws up a document, a formal written agreement between all the inhabitants of Medina, the Muhajirin, the Ansar, and the Jewish tribes of the city. This document is preserved in the sources in some detail, and it deserves far more attention than it typically receives. The document establishes the following: that the Muslims form one community, one ummah, regardless of tribe of origin. That in the event of external attack on Medina, all signatory groups will defend the city together. That the Jewish tribes Banu Qurayza, Banu Nadir, Banu Qaynuqa are recognized as a community alongside the Muslims with full freedom of their religion and their property. That no citizen of Medina shall provide refuge to the Quraish or their allies. That disputes between any parties shall be referred to the Prophet Muhammad for arbitration. This last clause is crucial. It is not merely a religious agreement. It is a constitutional arrangement that establishes the Prophet as the supreme judicial and political authority of Medina by consent of all parties, including the non-Muslim communities. This is a social contract. It predates the Magna Carta by nearly 600 years. It predates the foundational documents of most modern nations by over a millennium. And it emerges from a community that 8 days ago was camped in a cave on a mountain with a 100-camel price on its leader's head. Act 3. The Adhan, the call that announced a new world. The community now has a mosque. It has a brotherhood. It has a political charter. But how does it gather? In Makkah, prayer had been largely individual or in small groups, hidden in mountain passes to avoid persecution. Now, for the first time in history, the Muslim community can pray openly and collectively. But how do you call people to prayer across a city? The companions debated it. A bell? Like the Christians? A horn? Like the Jews? A fire? A flag? Then one of the Ansar, Abdullah bin Zayd, came to the Prophet with a dream. He had heard a man call out words in a clear, beautiful voice. He described the words he had heard. The Prophet ﷺ recognized them immediately. He called for Bilal. Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. Bilal ibn Rabah, the man who had been dragged through the streets of Makkah on a rope around his neck, laid on burning sand with a boulder on his chest, whose only response to torture had been Ahad, Ahad, now stands on the roof of the highest house near the mosque and calls out across the rooftops of Medina. Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah. Ashhadu anna Muhammadan Rasulullah. Hayya ala salah. Hayya ala al-falah. Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar. La ilaha illallah. The man who was tortured for whispering the name of God is now shouting it across a city. This is what the Hijrah made possible. The weight of what was built. Let us take a moment, as we always do on this channel, to zoom out and apply the historic war lens. In purely strategic terms, what has just happened? The Prophet ﷺ entered Medina with no army, no treasury, no territorial control, and no formal authority. Within weeks he had established the following: a physical headquarters, the mosque, which served simultaneously as a place of worship, a court of law, a community center, and a military planning room. A social welfare system, the Mu'ahad Brotherhood that prevented the Muhajir community from becoming an economic burden and instead integrated it into Medina's social fabric. A political constitution that extended the Prophet's authority to non-Muslim communities through consent rather than conquest. A communications infrastructure, the Adhan, that could assemble the entire community within minutes. And a calendar, the Hijri calendar, beginning from this event, that gave the community a shared temporal identity. This is state building at a speed and with an elegance that political scientists still study. And it was done by a man who, 9 days earlier, was sleeping in a cave. The Quraish in Makkah thought they had expelled a troublesome preacher. They had actually launched a civilization. The horizon. What comes next? But Medina is not yet safe. Not even close. The Quraish are watching. Their trade routes to Syria pass within miles of Medina. Their pride has been wounded. They failed to kill the Prophet, failed to stop the migration, and now the man they expelled is building a state on their northern border. And within Medina itself, a man named Abdullah bin Uraiqit is watching events unfold with barely concealed fury. He was, until the day the Prophet ﷺ arrived, the man everyone expected to be crowned king of Yathrib. The crown had been commissioned, the celebration was being planned, and then Islam arrived, and the people chose a different leader. Abdullah bin Uraiqit will smile at the Prophet in public. He will pray in the mosque. He will sign the Constitution. And he will spend the next decade doing everything in his power to destroy from within what he could not prevent from without. He will become the chief of the hypocrites, the munafiqeen, and his story will shadow the Muslim community for years. Meanwhile, in the markets of Makkah, Abu Jahl is planning. He has lost the first round. He will not lose the next one quietly. He is already calculating the route from Makkah to Badr. He is already counting his swords, and somewhere north of Medina, the Jewish tribes of Banu Qaynuqa, Banu Nadir, and Banu Qurayza have signed the Constitution. They have agreed to the terms, but they are watching, and they have their own calculations. In the second year of the Hijrah, a caravan will leave Mecca for Syria. It will carry the profits of an entire year of trade. Abu Sufyan will lead it, and the Prophet will send a small force, 313 men, 2 horses, 70 camels, to intercept it. They will not intercept the caravan. They will meet an army instead, 3 times their number, the flower of Quraysh nobility, the most heavily armed force the Arabian Peninsula has fielded in a generation. And the world will never be the same. That is next episode, the Battle of Badr, the Day of Criterion. If you are watching this and have not subscribed yet, this is the moment. The next episode is the one the entire early Makkah arc has been building toward. 13 years of persecution, exile, boycott, torture, and loss. All of it meets its reckoning at a well in the Hijazi desert called Badr. You do not want to miss it. And before you go, one final question for the comments. The Hijrah is considered the foundational act of Islamic civilization, so much so that the Islamic calendar begins here, not at the first revelation. Do you think that was the right choice? Should the calendar begin at the first revelation, the Hijrah, or the conquest of Makkah? Tell me below. I read every comment. Until next time, this is the House of Wisdom, where history is never just the past,